Well, it looks like Tana couldn't stick to the one business venture that people actually seem to like. After nearly an entire year of the canceled podcast, it's finally come to an end. We also have to talk about James Charles losing over 80,000 followers and Amari and James' newfound friendship. It's a mess, so let's get into it. Last year, Tana started her very own podcast with her co-host Brooke called Cancelled. I think Tana was seeing the success that other podcasts were having, and she didn't want to miss out on the chance to make some money. Last year was really the height of podcast popularity. Pretty much every YouTuber created a podcast, and some have survived and others have fizzled out. I feel like a lot of people were kind of nervous to get too attached to Tana's podcast, just because she doesn't exactly have the best track record. She always starts stuff, doesn't finish it. She says that she has this big project coming, she never delivers. Whenever she does come back to YouTube, she'll always be like, oh, I have all these vlogs to post. You guys are gonna get so many vlogs in the next few weeks. And then nothing happens. I think after the heartbreak that was Frenemies ending, a lot of people were afraid to get too attached just for it to end within a few episodes. But I will give it to Tana and Brooke because they actually stuck to it. They had this really creative set, they got on some pretty interesting guests, and without fail, every single week they posted their episode. Prior to doing this podcast, Tana had actually kind of abandoned her main YouTube channel, so a lot of her fans were still excited to be able to hear her story times through the podcast. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some times that they missed episodes. They took over a month off unannounced at Christmas, and they stopped posting again between February and March. A lot of people started wondering if maybe Tana and Brooke were fighting again or if there were some issues with their management. I think the long breaks would have been more understandable if they actually announced them and let everyone know that they wouldn't be posting. But they would never address anything. Week after week, they'd miss episodes and they weren't replying to all the comments asking them what was going on. The last episode they posted was from May 2nd and it was titled A Formal Apology from Us. The episode prior to that, they had a guest on who was talking about some pretty controversial topics like doing things with your cousin, and Tana and Brooke got called out for condoning it. They kind of apologized, but honestly, it wasn't even really an apology. There was also a little bit of drama between Brooke and Tana right after that last episode. During the episode, Brooke announced that her and her kind of boyfriend, kind of not, who she named Joe, had broken up with her. People went a little bit crazy and they were trying to find out who this Joe was, and Tana ended up leaking it. During Tana's new podcast with Spotify called Tana's Toxic Tips, someone guessed Joe's real name, and Tana pretty much confirmed that that's who it was just by the reaction she had. Brooke got really upset and she said she was quitting the podcast. But later she said she was just upset and she isn't quitting.
Hello. Okay, so I'm not quitting the podcast. I was quick to tweet because I am a very emotional girl.
But now Brooke doesn't have to quit because the podcast is done. They haven't posted in weeks and everyone's been asking them what's going on. The cycle of Tana promising change and authenticity only to completely disappear on her fans until she has another scam to promote. We're starving, Tana, please. Where's the new episode? Tana, I need an episode, please. I'm depressed. Please, both of you get your shit together. Don't fight and get back to doing the podcast now. And Brooke actually replied to this comment and said, we aren't fighting, I promise. But if they aren't fighting, why aren't they doing the podcast? Tana actually addressed things for the first time ever during her live show last week. Someone asked what happened to the podcast, and Tana said she wasn't able to talk about it. After Tana was done her live show, someone tweeted Brooke and said, Tana just said that the reason the podcast isn't going on is basically because of you. Can you at least tell us and be open? Because God knows Tana just deflects. And Brooke replied and said, well, it certainly isn't because of me. And another person jumped in and corrected them and wrote, Tana didn't say that. She said on her live that you were more able to talk about it than she is because of contracts or something. Then Brooke tweeted, "Me and Tana will be back before you know it. I promise. Maybe a slightly different format. We miss you and love you, and we will never stop oversharing on the internet." Since Brooke was being really vague and didn't really give away too many details, someone tweeted back and said, "Where the fuck is the pod?" And Brooke said, "It's gone." That was the whole message. So yeah, it sounds like there's something going on with Tana's management, who produces and runs the show. Maybe they aren't agreeing on contracts or pay, or it could be them wanting Tana to tone things down a bit. I noticed so many times throughout the podcast, Tana would stop herself from saying certain things and would be like, "My lawyers are here, I can't say that, I'm gonna get in trouble." Since they were coming up to their 1 year, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that they were probably having issues with next year's contracts. But let me know what you guys think. Moving on, we need to talk about Mr. James Charles. James has lost over 80,000 followers on Instagram last week, but not for the reasons that you're probably thinking of. Recently, James has been feeding into the whole BBL rumors, and he's been showing off a lot more than he normally does. James' content has always been more catered to a younger audience. He posts a lot of content that typically appeals to kids and very young teens. But James is getting older, and I kind of have a feeling that he's trying to get away from that whole image. Last week, he posted a TikTok of him dancing, and the caption said, "Breaking news. Magnitude 7.4 earthquake just felt by millions in Palm Springs, California." And a lot of people were really confused about where something went, if you know what I mean. So to respond to everyone's questions about where exactly it was, he posted an Instagram story showing what he does so he's able to wear bikini bottoms. He captioned it, "When people ask me if I cut it off, here's your answer." He also explained more about the whole process over on TikTok.
This has been 100% of my comments for the past week straight, and I figured I would finally take some time to address it. So we just got back to LA after spending a week in Palm Springs with my friends for my 23rd birthday. It was an amazing time. We were by the pool every single day. And of course, when you're swimming, you're usually wearing a bathing suit. Now, I wore this one and several other like this, and they caused quite a ruckus on social media. Swimwear has always been a really weird clothing category because I've never been able to find anything that I was comfortable and confident in. Of course, I had my boys' bathing suit shorts, but I don't feel like these were very flattering, and I didn't like having my nipples out. But I also would never wear a full bikini because I don't have, boobs to fill the top. This picture of Kim at the beach changed everything for me because it was the first time that I saw a bathing suit and thought to myself, oh my god, I would wear that. So I reached out to my friend Marco, who's an incredible designer, and he made me custom bathing suits in black, neon green, blue, gray, and the one-piece ombre. And I know it's a little bit different, but this is the first time that I've ever had swimwear that I feel comfortable and confident in. And finally, to answer your question, yes, it's still there. It's just tucked.
But there were consequences to these posts because James lost over 80,000 followers. He posted on Instagram stories writing, "I lost 80,000 followers today for posting that tucking story. I'm so sorry that y'all are boring. You will not be missed." Kind of shocking that he lost more followers from that post than he did last year when all that stuff came out about him. As for him losing followers though, I mean, it's kind of understandable. James says that it's just people being boring, but I feel like that's not entirely it. James has a very, very young audience. He makes kid-friendly content, and the things that he's been posting lately aren't exactly kid-friendly. I would hope that most kids' parents are monitoring their social media use, especially with TikTok. So who knows? Maybe they saw the things that James was posting over his birthday weekend, and they were like, yeah, no, unfollow. Speaking of James's birthday though, one person who I didn't expect to see there was Tana's friend Amari. A lot of people were really confused because Tana and Amari are best friends. She's been very vocal about not supporting James or the things that he's done. Yet Amari is out here posting TikToks with him. Obviously, Amari is his own person and he doesn't need permission from Tana to hang out with people, but like, why? I definitely did not expect this duo, and according to the comments, neither did a lot of people. The collab we didn't need. Amari, what is going on? This doesn't pass. Bye, Amari. unfollowed. Amari, wear red in the next video if you need help. Clearly, a lot of people are very shocked to see them together, and it's kind of making me wonder if Tana and James are friends again as well. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. What do you think about the canceled podcast being over? And what do you think about James losing that many followers just over that Instagram story? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.